The Parcel Fabric is purposely built to support cadastral datasets. Here we have data from the Czech Republic, and we are in the city of Prague. Let's zoom a bit. This is data that was taken from ArcGIS Online to a few of the parcels here. And I'm going to select one of those parcels here, and we can see the attributes. We can also see that it is extendable. The attributes here have been extended based on the attribute in the source data. The same can be said for the structures. You can see here it has been extended with the attributes from the source data. In this Parcel Fabric we have two parcel types, one for structures and one for parcels. One quick demo is just to select a point and move it to show how the Parcel Fabric maintains topological integrity. If we move this point, all the lines and polygons connected to this point will assume the new position while maintaining their historical values. Sorry, their record values. So if it has a legal area, you can see the legal area has not changed based on this geometry update. Let's undo that so you can see the legal area of this parcel has not changed. We can also easily make this point fixed by setting the attribute from no to yes. By making this point fixed, if we were now to try to move it, or move, for that matter, anything connected to it. So if we were try to move this parcel to a new location, let's say here, and say OK, you can see that it violates an attribute rule constraint. It says the shape is fixed, and this for you cannot move it. So you cannot move anything connected to a fixed point, or whether that's a line, or a point, or a polygon. Let's talk about the types of workflows in a Parcel Fabric that you can perform. I'm going to discard those edits on the Parcel Record Workflows tab. Just press discard here. And there are two types of workflows you can do with a parcel. One is record-driven, where you have a new land registration or recordation of a new document, like a merge, a split, a subdivision, and so forth. And then the other one is quality-driven, where the whole purpose of the quality-driven is to improve the quality of the data, and that can happen at any time, at any extent of the data. Let's perform a record-driven workflow just to understand the concept. All the data is associated to the legal record it came from. So you can see here, if we select the parcel, we can navigate to the legal record that created it in 2014. And you can extend this, of course, with the additional attributes like the name and so forth. Let's create a new record. I'm just going to go to the Active Record HUD, and I'm going to specify a new record, let's say 2023, and I'm going to give it a unique number. You can extend the record type, the date, and any other attribute here, and I'll press Create. You can see now it is the active record. Now let's perform a common workflow of merging two parcels. I'm going to zoom into another extent here, and let's merge those two parcels, let's say over here. So in order to do that, all I need, of course, is to select those two parcels. You can see the legal areas of those two parcels, and now we're going to use the merge tool to do that. You can already see that the combined legal area has been summed up and combined, and we can provide a new number to the parcel and press merge. The parcel has been merged, but another thing that happened is historic parcels have been created. So the historic parcels are made from two polygons, as well as the boundaries between the two parcels, in this case one line, that also got retired. We call this is part of the parcel lineage. Let's perform another quick workflow, also record driven on this parcel, this time a split. And there's many ways to split a parcel. I'm going to use the easy one. Before we do that, let's again create a unique record ID for this transaction. And now that we've done that, by the way, we can see that 999 is associated to the record we created before. Now we have a new active record, and we're going to use the divide tool to divide it. Let's do it quickly here by pressing on an edge of the parcel we want to use. In order to divide it, let's divide it into 4 parcels here, and the legal area is going to actually be spread between them. There's different ways to divide parcels. I'm not going to show all of those. And we are going to divide it. So we are creating one parcel and dividing it into 4 new child parcels. And this has been created. And if we wanted to, we can use the parcel naming tool to easily name those parcels. Let's start with a value of 1,000 and increment by 1. And all I need is to snake between those parcels and give it the new names. So another thing I haven't touched on, every time we perform those record-driven workflow, we update the Parcel Fabric record feature layer. So you can see here that there's an outline for this transaction. This is the footprint of the legal transaction. Another new capability we added in ArcGIS Pro 3.2 is the ability to visualize the partial lineage visually. So I'll press on this partial lineage button, and we only want to see the lineage within this partial type. And I'm going to create a new link chart that depicts those relationships. And here you can see it's oriented top to bottom now, but you can see that we had 2 records that create these 2 parcels that got merged by the record we created into parcel 999 that is now historic, and then the new record that split those parcels into 4 new. Of course, you can change the layout if you wanted to do, let's say it's left to right or right to left. We can change the layout to see it in different ways, but it basically depicts the parcel lineage relationships, and you can select that entity here and see it also in the map. I'm going to close that, and we are going to jump for just a bit into a quality-driven workflow. I'm going to zoom to a bookmark here and show another capability to highlight gaps and overlaps. So this has been configured to show overlaps and gaps within the parcel layer. And there's also a tolerance here that you can configure, so you can exclude what you might consider as a valid gap, let's say a road. So by pressing this button, it uses the GPU, and you can see automatically it highlighted a small gap here. This data is actually really good. I had to reverse engineer this data to create this little gap. We can clear it, and if we zoom in we can see that there's a small gap in this data. I can also easily fix this gap by using the Align Parcel tool, and we are going to use that. The buffer here is way too big. We're going to decrease it, and I'm going to generate links and then press Align, and this gap has been fixed. And now if we zoom out, we can clear the selection and jump to the Quality tab again and press this button, and as you can see, nothing has been detected. So we fixed the gap. Another tool that we have here, I'm going to clear this, is to detect short lines, and I thought there's a few short lines here, not too many. So I'll just zoom to that extent, and this is part of the parcel layers here. It allows you to add layers to detect common issues, and you can see here that we can detect distance mismatch if there's distance values on the lines, vertices to detect densified curves, lines that are too short, as well as vertices on polygons. I've already added the layer, and I'm gonna check this on, and we can see here already that there's a line that highlights here that looks like it's too small, 0.05 centimeters long line. So let's zoom to it, and we can see the problem. Now we can measure it as well if we wanted to, so we get a sense that's probably even smaller here. So have to zoom even further. So this is 5 centimeters long. So a very short, small parcel here. And I'll show one tool that allows us to fix it. There's many others. I could also just delete it and use the align tool, this small sliver parcel. But I'm going to show another capability, which is just to collapse geometries using points. So I'm going to select those 3 points. And I can select which point I want to preserve and which one not. I'll choose one to preserve. It's already selected. And I'm just going to hit the merge tool. And it will merge all the 3 points into one. And I can do the same for this one here. And also, it's already chosen the point I would like to merge it to. And you get the idea. So this is a very useful tool. I'm going to stop here, but it's a useful tool in order to merge points that's supposed to be the same points. If you want to know where this data came from, well, the source data is taken from ArcGIS Online. Those were the layers here, and you can see the data extent. If we look at the source of the data, we can see the server from which it came, and if we zoom out, we'll be able to see additional information. And my internet connection might be a bit slow today, but it will basically pull all the features in this extent. There's also the Parcel Fabric also supports administrative parcel types. So if we wanted to enter additional types, we could do that. So those layers are scale dependent, so they don't show in every scale. So you need to zoom in to see them. So this is where they came from. How are they stored? Well, we created, and how were they migrated? They are stored in a feature data set, and here you can see the Parcel Fabric and the different parcel types, as well as topology and relationship class. And if we want to look at the process that took to create and migrate this data, you can see that the first thing was to create a feature data set, then create a new Parcel Fabric controller. Then I've added the 2 parcel types, the parcella and the one for the structures. Then I appended the source data into those parcel types, calculated a bunch of fields, basically moving the area and the area unit field on each of the parcel types, created the parcel record feature class based on a field. I used the date field, but of course it'd be good to know the original source, special source if we use LADM terminology for this field. And the final thing was to build the Parcel Fabric to create the missing points and lines. Of course, if you have them, you can just append them as you append the polygon. So this was a short demo of the Parcel Fabric using Czech data in the Czech Republic. And if you have more questions, you're welcome to contact me. My name is Amir Bar-Maor, and I'm a product engineer on the software development team in Israel. Thank you.